In life, we are told to be kind, but nobody warns us about being too kind. Sometimes, our endless friendliness is not a sign of goodness. It's an invitation for people to take us for granted. The truth is, even God draws boundaries in creation, then why shouldn't we? My friends, being friendly is a beautiful virtue. It opens doors, builds bridges, and wins hearts. But when friendliness crosses into over-availability, we silently hand over our peace, our time, and our respect to those who may never value it. Just like rain nurtures the soil, but can also cause floods if it never stops. Kindness without limits can drown your self-worth. Today, I want to share how to maintain a balance so that your kindness remains your strength, not your weakness. If you always say yes to everyone, you are silently, without even realizing it, saying no to yourself. And saying no to yourself again and again is like telling your own soul that it doesn't matter. My friends, self-respect is not pride, it's not arrogance, and it's not selfishness. Self-respect is honoring the life God has gifted you, and the energy He has blessed you with, and the time He has entrusted to you. Think of your time and energy like gold coins. If you hand them out to everyone who asks, without thinking, you will one day open your palm and realize it's empty. Imagine this: you have a phone with 100% battery. You start your day full of energy. Every time someone asks you for help, attention, or a favor, you give them a little bit of your battery. That's beautiful. Kindness is a blessing. But here's the problem: you keep giving and giving without ever recharging yourself. By evening, your battery is at 1%. Now, if an important call comes, something that truly matters to you, your purpose, or your loved ones, you won't have the power to take it. This is what happens in real life when we don't respect ourselves. We spend our mental and emotional energy everywhere until we have nothing left for what truly matters. Respecting yourself first means knowing when to give and when to protect your inner resources. Even God has placed boundaries in nature. The sun rises and sets. It does not shine 24 hours a day. The ocean waves come to a certain point on the shore and then return. Even the seasons change to allow rest and renewal. If nature itself follows the law of balance, then why should we burn ourselves out by being endlessly available to everyone? Many people misunderstand kindness. They think kindness means saying yes to everything. But a yes that comes from pressure or guilt is not kindness. It's weakness in disguise. A true yes comes from choice, from inner strength, from a place where you are giving because you want to, not because you're afraid to say no. Let me give you a simple daily life example. Suppose a colleague always comes to you at work asking for help with their tasks. The first time you help, it's kindness. The second time, it's still kindness. But by the 10th time, if it's eating away your own time and affecting your own work, it's not kindness anymore, it's self-neglect. And here's the surprising part: when you allow people to overstep your boundaries, you train them to take you for granted. Without meaning to, you teach them that your time is not valuable. Respecting yourself means valuing your own commitments, your own growth, and your own peace as much as, if not more than, you value others. Think about the airplane safety rule. Put on your own oxygen mask before helping others. This is not selfishness, it's wisdom. You cannot save others if you cannot breathe yourself. In the same way, you cannot truly help the world if you are mentally, emotionally, and spiritually drained. Sometimes we say yes because we fear people will dislike us if we say no. But here's the truth: the people who truly value you will respect your No. The ones who get upset because you have boundaries are the very people who are using you, not appreciating you. Would you rather be loved for being a doormat or respected for standing tall? Respecting yourself also affects how you carry yourself in life. When you value your own time and words, you start speaking with more confidence. Your decisions become stronger. You stop chasing approval and start living with purpose. And something magical happens. The right kind of people start being drawn to you. Why? Because self-respect is magnetic. It sends a silent message, I value myself, so I will also value you. I remember a story of a young man who always agreed to work extra hours for his boss, even when it ruined his weekends. One day, he was exhausted and his health began to decline. A friend asked him, "Why don't you say no?" He replied, "Because I don't want my boss to think I'm lazy." The friend smiled and said, "Your boss doesn't think you're lazy. He thinks you're limitless. And because you've never shown him your limits, he'll keep taking more." That was a turning point for the young man. He began to set boundaries, and to his surprise, the boss didn't fire him. In fact, the boss started respecting him more because now he saw him as someone who valued his own time. My friends, you teach people how to treat you by the way you treat yourself. If you undervalue yourself, the world will follow your example. If you respect yourself, the world will mirror that respect back to you. So, start today. Protect your mornings for the things that matter most to you. Learn the art of a polite but firm no. Choose where you invest your time, because not every opportunity is meant for you, and not every request deserves a yes. Remember, your life is a gift from God. Your time is a gift. Your energy is a gift. Protect these gifts with honor. And when you give from overflow, not from emptiness. This way, your kindness will remain your power, not your weakness. There's a simple truth about life that many people don't like to admit. Not every relationship you have is equal. Some people will only come close to you when the sun is shining in your life. They'll walk beside you when the road is smooth, but the moment it gets bumpy, they'll vanish. Recognizing this truth is not bitterness, it's wisdom, because the moment you learn to see who is truly with you and who is only with you for what you give, you will stop pouring your heart into one-sided relationships. Think about it. When you plant a seed, you water it, you protect it from pests, you make sure it gets sunlight. You expect that in time it will grow and give back, maybe with flowers, maybe with fruits, maybe with shade. Now imagine if you kept watering a seed that never grew, never bloomed, never even sprouted. You'd call that a waste of effort, right? But in life, we sometimes do the same with people. We keep investing time, love, and kindness into relationships that never give back, not even a drop of appreciation. A one-sided relationship feels like rowing a boat alone. You're pulling the oars with all your strength, but the other person is just sitting there, enjoying the ride without ever touching an oar. At first, you may not mind because you care for them. But over time, your arms ache, your energy drains, and you realize you've been carrying all the weight. That is when you must decide, will you keep exhausting yourself for someone who refuses to meet you halfway? Let me give you an everyday example. Suppose you have a friend who always calls you when they are sad, lonely, or in trouble. You listen to them for hours. You comfort them. You even rearrange your plans to be there for them. But when your own heart is heavy, you call them and they don't answer. Or worse, they answer but rush you off the phone because they're busy. This isn't friendship, It's a transaction where you're always the giver and they're always the taker. God teaches balance in giving. Even nature works this way. Rivers flow into the ocean, and the ocean gives back through rain. Trees give us oxygen, and we give them carbon dioxide. This give and take keeps life alive. But in one-sided relationships, the giving is only from one direction. That's why they leave you feeling empty. The problem is, we sometimes confuse loyalty with self-sacrifice. We think, if I keep giving, maybe one day they'll see my value. But people who are used to taking without giving rarely change. Not because they're evil, but because they've never had to. You've made it too easy. There is a famous saying, when someone shows you who they are, believe them. If someone repeatedly fails to be there for you, believe it. If someone only comes to you in their storms, but disappears in your storms, believe it. It's not your job to keep carrying the weight of a relationship that's meant to be shared. Does that mean you cut off everyone who isn't perfect? Of course not. No relationship is 50-50 all the time. Sometimes it's 70-30, sometimes 20-80, depending on what each person is going through. True relationships have seasons of imbalance, but they balance out over time. The difference with a one-sided relationship is that the imbalance is permanent. You're always the giver, and they're always the receiver. I remember a story of a woman who always helped her friend financially. Every time the friend was short on money, she stepped in, even when it meant delaying her own bills. But one day, she needed a small loan herself. She called her friend, and the friend said, "I wish I could help, but I can't right now." This hurt her deeply. Not because the friend said no, but because she realized her friend had never even tried to be there for her in any way. That moment was a wake-up call. She learned that generosity without boundaries invites misuse. In your own life, you need to observe who checks on you without needing something, who listens to you without looking at the clock, who notices when your smile is hiding sadness. These are the people worth investing in. Because love, friendship, and respect should never be a one-way street. There's another danger of one-sided relationships. They teach you to undervalue yourself. When you keep giving without receiving, you start believing that you're only worth what you can provide, not who you are. This is dangerous because your value is not in your usefulness. It is in your being. God gave you worth the moment He created you. You do not have to earn it through endless sacrifice. So how do you recognize and step away from one-sided relationships without bitterness? First, become aware. Notice patterns. Keep a mental record of how often you initiate versus how often they do. Second, set small boundaries. If they always expect you to drop everything for them, start saying, "I can't right now, but I hope it works out." See how they react. Third, redirect your energy toward relationships that uplift you. When you step back from people who drain you, you're not being cruel. You're making space for the right people to enter. And the right people will not just take from you, they will pour back into you. They will celebrate your joys. They will stand with you in your pain. Life is too short to row a boat alone while someone else enjoys the view. Relationships should feel like a dance, not a burden. Sometimes you lead, sometimes they lead, but you both move together. Let go of those who refuse to move with you. Because when you stop watering barren soil, you free yourself to nurture the gardens that will bloom. And in those gardens, you will find the kind of love and friendship that God intended, balanced, respectful, and full of life. In this age of social media, it's easy to believe that the more friends you have, the richer your life will be. People boast about hundreds, even thousands of contacts in their phone or followers online. But here's the truth. The depth of your relationships matters far more than the number of them. Having many shallow connections is like owning a large basket full of empty shells. They may look impressive from a distance, but when you need something real, they have nothing to offer. Life isn't about collecting people, it's about connecting deeply with the right ones. Imagine standing in the middle of a desert, surrounded by hundreds of small puddles. Each puddle has a little water, but none is deep enough to quench your thirst. You could run from one to another, bending down to take a sip, but you'd still remain thirsty. Now imagine one deep well. It may not be as many in number as the puddles, but one draw from it can give you enough water to sustain you. That's the difference between shallow and deep relationships. Deep relationships don't happen overnight. They are built slowly through trust, shared experiences, and mutual respect. And just like a tree with strong roots can stand tall during storms, deep relationships give you stability when life's winds blow hard. Shallow ones, the moment a strong gust comes, they're gone. Think about your own life. How many people truly know what's in your heart? Not the version you post online, not the polite smile you give in public, but the real you. The one who has fears, doubts, dreams, and moments of weakness. For most of us, that number is very small, and that's okay, because quality always beats quantity when it comes to human connection. Let's take an everyday example. Suppose you have 200 contacts on your phone. You scroll through them one day and realize if you were in a real emergency, you might only call 3 or 4 of them. Those few are the deep connections, the ones who wouldn't just pick up the phone, but would show up at your door without asking questions. That's what matters. In life, depth means someone understands your silences as much as your words. They notice when something is wrong even if you say, "I'm fine." They celebrate your small victories as much as your big ones. And they don't just disappear when you're going through your worst days. Unfortunately, many of us spend our energy trying to maintain too many shallow ties, leaving no time to nurture the deeper ones. We attend countless gatherings, comment on hundreds of posts, and reply to endless messages, but in the process, we lose the chance to sit quietly with the few people who truly matter and have conversations that feed the soul. Even nature teaches us this lesson. A mighty oak tree doesn't waste its strength growing thousands of small roots in random directions. It sends a few roots deep into the ground to find the richest source of water. That's why it survives for centuries, while plants with scattered, shallow roots wither in a single season. I once heard a story about 2 friends who had known each other since childhood. They didn't talk every day, and sometimes months went by without meeting. But whenever they reconnected, it felt as if no time had passed. They knew each other's struggles, they supported each other without being asked, and they never kept score of who did what. One day, when one friend faced a sudden crisis, the other traveled overnight just to be there. No questions, no conditions. That's the power of depth. Deep relationships also require vulnerability. You can't win them if you're always wearing a mask. When you open up about your real self, you give the other person permission to do the same. Over time, this creates a bond that can't be broken by distance, misunderstandings, or the passing of time. But here's the important thing. Depth also requires choice. You must decide who is worth that level of openness. Not everyone earns a place in your inner circle. Trust should be given slowly and carefully. not handed out to anyone who smiles at you. Because once you share your deepest self with someone who doesn't value it, you risk being hurt in ways that take a long time to heal. In your personal journey, you will meet many people. Some will stay, some will go. But the ones who are meant for you will stand by you through seasons of both sunshine and storm. These are the people who will call you not just when they need you, but just to ask, "How are you?" They will remember things you told them months ago because they truly listened. They will want to see you grow, not just benefit from you. So choose wisely. It's better to have 3 friends who would defend your name when you're not in the room than 30 who smile to your face but speak against you behind your back. It's better to have 2 relationships that inspire you to be your best self than 20 that drain your energy. Remember, at the end of life, you won't measure your happiness by how many people attended your parties or liked your posts. You'll remember the few who sat beside your hospital bed, the ones who cried with you when you lost someone, the ones who prayed for you when you didn't even ask. In the end, true wealth is not in numbers, it's in depth. So don't chase popularity, chase connection. Don't collect names, collect moments. Don't focus on being known by many, focus on being deeply loved by a few. Because when storms come, and they will, it won't be the crowd of acquaintances that holds your hand. It will be those few strong roots you chose to grow deep. And that is worth more than all the shallow friendships in the world.